Strength of schedule is always a huge factor, and as we get into the halfway point of the fantasy season, we've got some quarterbacks with some very easy matchups on the horizon. Let's get you ahead of that competition and jump right into this one. We'll start off with a little love. Jordan Love goes up against the Vikings, Rams, Steelers, and Chargers over the course of the next 4 weeks. This Green Bay team's just coming off their bye, and all 4 of his upcoming opponents allow a bottom half mark for fantasy points to quarterbacks. Jordan Love has one of the easiest stretches all season coming up, and it could not have come at a better time for his fantasy owners. After putting up north of 17 fantasy points in each of the first 4 weeks, he's put up 5 and 15 in the last pair of games. Love has thrown 7 picks in the prior 4 games, and this Packers team probably has a lot of people puzzled right now. They came off of a bye where they talked about starting stronger in games, and they got shut out in the first half in a game where Jordan Love should have been able to break out. He was facing a Broncos defense that has allowed 31 points per contest now, still the highest mark in the league, even though they kind of mitigated what Green Bay was trying to do. The good news here is Jordan Love's supporting cast is as healthy as it has ever been. We just need Aaron Jones and Christian Watson to play at their full capacity, which they definitely aren't at yet. Christian Watson just re-agitated the injury, and Aaron Jones on a snap count for whatever reason. He has been back, quote unquote, for the last couple of weeks. Just looking to see some more progress on his end. Jared Goff's up next, going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. He gets a bye the following week. Goes up against the Chargers, obviously that last place team in terms of fantasy points given up to quarterback. And then the Bears. Jared Goff has been nothing short of phenomenal so far this year. He used the QB9, averaging just short of 17 points per game in fantasy. The guy has at least 250 passing yards in 4 of 7 games. This is the volume you want. Consistent volume, even if there are some turnovers here and there. That's a guaranteed 10 points, 250 passing yards. And he's on an offense that moves quickly. An underrated stat, in my opinion, is plays per game. The Lions are running 67.4 plays per game right now. That's the 4th highest mark of any team in the NFL at the moment. And I really want to highlight this Chargers matchup that multiple quarterbacks on this list have coming up. Not only are they allowing the most amount of fantasy points to quarterbacks, they are giving up 310 passing yards per game. That's nearly 40 more yards per game than any other team in the NFL. They are amazingly bad. Let's take advantage of that. Mac Jones is up next. Mac Jones has had a rough year, but it could get better. He goes up against Miami, Washington, Indianapolis, and then a much-needed bye for a Patriots team that struggled in general. But we're here to talk about fantasy. The Bill O'Brien era does not seem to be going to plan, but we got some redemption in the form of a multi-touchdown performance, and that's the first performance of that type that we've seen from Mac Jones since week 1. Now it turns up. Let's lock in on this Washington Commanders matchup in week 9. Not only are the Commanders allowing the 4th most amount of fantasy points to quarterback at the moment, but this team is just 1 of 4 in the league that are allowing 2 or more passing touchdowns per game. And again, Mac Jones riding high coming off of that win against the Bills. And outside of Juju Smith-Schuster going down, and he's currently questionable right now, the offense for New England is healthy. The offensive line is healthy. The pair of running backs in Ramondre Stevenson and Ezekiel Elliott are healthy. And the rest of the receiving core is out there as well and thriving. Kendrick Bourne has put up a couple of nice games so far. New England throws the ball 61% of the time, and that is the 6th highest rate in the NFL. It's not a great offense right now, but I'm going to be a big fan of Mac Jones in the next couple of weeks because of that strength of schedule. Deshaun Watson goes up against the Seattle Seahawks, Arizona Cardinals, Baltimore Ravens, obviously that's a scab on this report, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Deshaun Watson has brighter days ahead, theoretically. I understand this might be a sensitive subject because we need a healthy Deshaun Watson. We don't need a performance where he gets negative points and then is pulled from the game, aka exactly what we saw last week in his game against the Indianapolis Colts. Watson showed some of his rushing upside in the first couple of weeks. We have somebody who is tucking and running the ball about 5 times per game. Seattle, his opponent coming up, plays a lot of zones, so there may not be as much room for Watson to get out and run. If people are playing man-to-man running down the field, there's not as much attention paid to a mobile threat like Watson. Those improvisational plays typically work a lot more against that man coverage is what I'm trying to say. The supporting cast is fine, especially considering that a reliable checkdown option from the past in Kareem Hunt is back. Jerome Ford has been a surprisingly great fill-in for Nick Chubb so far. Deshaun Watson, again, if he's healthy, we want to take advantage of this easy upcoming schedule in the next month. But if he's shaky, I really would not play that game. Desmond Ridder's up next. He goes up against the Tennessee Titans, Minnesota Vikings, Arizona Cardinals, and then is on a bye. Desmond Ridder gets a lot of flack as an NFL quarterback, but there are a lot of options out there doing far worse as a fantasy quarterback. This is someone who has cleared 15 fantasy points 3 times between weeks 2 and 6. I don't care that he had a game-ending interception not too long ago. The fact of the matter is he's throwing for a decent amount of volume as well. We've had at least 250 passing yards in each of the last 3 contests. The Arizona Cardinals, his opposition in week 10, are allowing nearly 240 passing yards per game. Now, let's keep in mind the Falcons' profile, all right? They're obviously invested in the run. They went out and drafted Bijan Robinson after getting a 1,000-yard rookie season and an efficient one at that out of Tyler Algier. Now, albeit they didn't use Robinson in all of the first half last week due to some illness, I don't have future lines, but I would be also willing to bet that the Falcons are favorites in at least 2 of the next 3 games against Tennessee, Minnesota, and Arizona. That could also, again, game script-wise, lead to a run-heavy scheme. This team is working with a lead. They're trying to chew down the clock. That obviously can always happen as well. Moral of the story, these are easier defenses ahead, but I want to be transparent with all of you. I like Desmond Ridder, but there are run-heavy factors in play. So please keep this in mind if you're going to go out and add Ridder. Derek Carr is up next. He faces the Colts, Bears, Vikings, and then gets a bye. And folks, I am mentioning the bye just so you know when you're going and investing in somebody that you're going to have to replace them at some point. They should not be the end-all, be-all unless you're having a season-ending injury for your quarterback, aka you Anthony Richardson owners. My thoughts and prayers are with you. This isn't Carr's first appearance in a video this year. Despite the fact the Saints haven't been too impressive as a team, we've mentioned Carr before, and for good reason. He's consistently average. Now, that probably has a pretty negative connotation, but this guy is reliable. I'm not hitting on him for anything in terms of not being able to crack the top 10. Frankly, I don't care. The guy doesn't get hurt. He's not going to explode for 30 points here and there in fantasy, but he'll lay around 15. He'll get you a solid performance more times than not. He's lied between the QB12 and QB20 overall in fantasy throughout pretty much the entire duration of his career. Carr's yards per attempt mark is as low as it's been since 2017, but that's the beauty of these upcoming matchups. Let's peek at the Week 9 matchup against Chicago. The Bears have allowed 260 passing yards per game, the 3rd highest mark in the NFL. And if we dig a bit deeper into their profile, they've been missing their top safety in Eddie Jackson. He's been in, out with this foot injury, and that's a Pro Bowler they could be losing. I would say this turns into an even more favorable matchup for Derek Carr and a lateral threat like Chris Olave for you Olave earners if Eddie Jackson does remain out. So just keep an eye on that. Patrick Mahomes is up next. He goes up against the Broncos, Dolphins, gets a bye, and then plays against the Eagles. Nothing I'm about to say should be convincing you to start Patrick Mahomes because you should be starting him every week. He's up there with Josh Allen, up there with Jalen Hurts. I mean, you should not really be hesitating to put this guy in and plug him in all 17 weeks he plays unless something crazy happens. This could be fun, though. This is kind of why it's notable. This guy is the most talented quarterback in the league and is about to play 3 bottom 10 defenses when it comes to fantasy points given up to quarterbacks. I mean, sign me up. We could see 30, 35, 40-point performances from Mahomes. We just got a 30-plus point performance last week. Mahomes already has 2,000 passing yards. He's coming off of a 4 passing touchdown performance. And these defenses are just giving up so much. This week against the Broncos, I'm not even sure I have to say much. Mahomes didn't explode against them the first time these two teams played because the weather was horrific. That's the ultimate equalizer, right? Miami gets into shootouts with teams consistently and got beat every which way by the Eagles offense last week. The Eagles themselves stood up tall against the Dolphins, and they just got Kevin Byard. So the secondary that has been bruised up this year just got better. Keep in mind, Reed Blankenship has been in and out of games, so he'll need to be out there to really get a full idea of what's going on. Again, if he's not out there, then we're feeling a little better about Mahomes. But this one is more just to tell you that we could be in store for a spectacle of a run from Mahomes. And hey, let's say you were aggressive in the draft and you got Patrick Mahomes and Justin Fields, or Patrick Mahomes and Trevor Lawrence. You got 2 starting caliber fantasy quarterbacks. I would wait until this stretch is done. His value is going to get a bit higher likely against these weak oppositions, if that's even possible, saying Patrick Mahomes' value is going to get higher, right? And then I would capitalize and sell him for even higher if you're looking to upgrade at another position. Matthew Stafford's up next. He goes up against the Cowboys, Packers, gets a bye, goes against the Seahawks, and then the Cardinals. I'm extending Stafford's schedule out the next 5 weeks because we're seeing a trend where it's supposed to get easier every single week for this guy. Dallas is the toughest test on paper so far, but remember, Trayvon Diggs is out for the season. Somebody who has caused chaos on the defensive end will not be playing in that game, obviously. Green Bay has a tough defense other than the fact that they've had trouble stopping the run, but their offense has been horrible. We aren't seeing long drives that could keep Stafford and the Rams offense off the field for a long duration of time. The Rams get a bye, and then things get fun in weeks 11 and 12 for somebody who now has Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua at his disposal. Nacua's on a historic rate, by the way, while Kyren Williams is still on the IR. the opposition and overall personnel situation on offense, with a running back being on the IR, and they're really having to dig deep with Royce Freeman and Darrell Henderson, which I'm excited about Henderson, don't get me wrong. Throw that on top of the fact that Kupp's back. You've got Nacua lighting the world on fire. I mean, all of this, to me, I don't know about you, screams pass the ball, but we'll have to see. I really do think a pass-heavy scheme's in order, though. Sam Howell will wrap us up. He goes against the Eagles, Patriots, Seahawks, and Giants. Somebody who's in a virtual tie with Stafford in pass attempts per game is Sam Howell. This guy is chucking it greater than 36 times per game. That's the 6th highest average for that mark in the league. We've mentioned Washington's atrocious defense on multiple occasions, and here's another reason to mention it. With the Commanders giving up 27.1 points per game, Howell in this offense has to keep up, and that's why they're one of the most pass-heavy teams in the league. The weak opposition on the way is just a plus. We could see some shootouts with the Commanders. The Eagles, his opponent for this upcoming week, are actually giving up 1.7 passing touchdowns per game. That's tied for the 5th highest rate in the league. We could be in store for one of many high-scoring bouts where Sam Howell's involved, and this is a pickup option. This guy's available in a lot of leagues right now. He could be a plug-and-play for the next month, in all honesty. That's why we do these videos. And thank you so much for watching this video. New type of content we cranked out here. Please give me feedback in the comment section below and ask any fantasy football-related questions you have there as well. Like and subscribe if you're getting value out of this video, and we will see you in the next one. Good luck in Week 8.